Good Thursday morning and welcome everybody to the Sportsvisions morning show. I'm DJ Jones. Of course, Coach Bush's grandson, the thrifter, Thrift Barringer, the award-winning producer is in the building, and the Swiss Army knife himself, Richard Holdridge. How are you guys this morning?
I am excellent, DJ. Another great morning live from the house because of the weather.
And let me not get away from tradition. I am Walter and Betty Jones's baby boy. Straight out of Buena Vista Estates, we want to welcome you all to this another special edition of the Sports Visions Morning Show. I want to apologize because obviously the weather has a lot to do with us not being in the studio this morning. So, we had to heed to, of course, the instructions of our health officials. And, again, as bad as we wanted to go into the studio, you know what? We just had to settle on definitely coming online and talking to the Sports Visions Nation here.
Yeah, but that's the beauty of technology, that we can still give you something. But we're ready to be back in studio tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Sports Visions 92.1 FM, the Sports Visions radio app. Make sure to download that. But for this show and yesterday's show, you can find us on Facebook only, YouTube only, and then, of course, Apple and Spotify. I already listened back on those shows from the previous days. It's actually got every show on podcast going back to when we first started last Wednesday. So thank you, Richard, for helping us with that endeavor, and looking forward to being back in studio tomorrow morning, DJ.
Well, guys, let's start with pretty much the updates. Obviously, weather has been on the main story of course, the last couple of days. And, of course, having us out again today out of the radio studios. But the more than anything, I think things are getting a little bit better. A lot of the snow, a lot of the ice has diminished. However, there's still some slick spots out there. There's still a lot of black ice. And, it's better to be safe than sorry.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I actually did some assessment yesterday. I went out of my neighborhood, and the ground didn't look that bad. And so we needed something from the store, and I took it slow. Yes, there was some patches of ice, but it wasn't as bad. When you drive over a patch of ice, just don't floor it. Just allow the vehicle to slide and just control the tires. And because there wasn't a whole lot of patches of ice, I knew that the main roads would be treated, and the grocery store was right there off Highway 27 in there in Midland, and I got what I needed. And my wife texted me, "Get eggs." The eggs were completely gone. I had to take a picture because I was so fascinated. That whole row of eggs that's supposed to be there, no more eggs, and just got the bare essentials, and we got ready for dinner. And the kids enjoyed going back outside and playing in the snow. We actually found a hill in our neighborhood, and my youngest used a cookie sheet and started sledding out there. And the snow is still on the ground as we speak. I actually did take a peek outside before we came on the air, and there's still snow on the ground. I don't think there's going to be enough snow to make a snowman or have snowball fights. It's starting to melt, and it's going to melt even more in the afternoon, and we should be fine.
Well, one thing about it, guys, is that, if you don't have to go, and again, absolutely, it's got to be necessary. I mean, because again, only the essential workers, and and it's a reason why that they said that, because, they want to keep the roads clear, because they want to be able, all the the healthcare folks, all the law enforcement people, fire, EMS, they need to be able to get to where they need to go. And again, if we're out there piddling around when we really don't have to now, again, the key to that is some parts of town are better than others. There's a lot of hills and a lot of not safe areas around where I live. I don't know if you could speak to your neighborhood, but that's Richard. You obviously lucky because what looks good might not necessarily be good, because black ice looks just like the regular road.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, and I want to say this though, DJ. I'm glad, Richard, you didn't tell me you left, because I would have been worried that Sports Vision's own and Georgia Alabama Sports Live broadcaster Richard Holdridge stuck on the road right now. We're going to go live from WRBL studios. I'm so glad that didn't happen to you. But, yeah, everyone else, there were a ton of accidents, DJ, especially in Alabama. It seemed like there was a car wreck every 5 seconds in the first couple of days of this snow blizzard. But hopefully that snow will melt. We don't have to worry about ice tomorrow morning, and we're going back to our normal routine for this weekend. It's been kind of a weird week with MLK that turned into a snowstorm. It felt like we just had an entire extended vacation, if you will, D.
I tell you, watching the news, guys, it was just, crazy to see that 8, 9 inches of snow falling in New Orleans and in places in that part of the country. I saw a guy on ski, he had on skates, playing hockey right there on Canal and Bourbon Street. It was amazing how it looked. I just, never seen anything like this in my long time on this earth.
Yeah, like we mentioned, we have not gotten this much snow since 2018. I mean, this has been a historic moment in the city of Columbus. And talking to several coaches, players haven't been practicing, but actually, Coach Purdue sent a video of Emerson White playing basketball in the snow. It's pretty funny. The players are watching game film, and hopefully they're watching Georgia Alabama Sports Live. They are out, in their backyard. If they have a basketball hoop, they're out there playing basketball, and they're getting warmed and getting ready for hopefully these games that will be played on Friday. I don't see any reason why these games on Friday shouldn't be postponed, but these kids are ready to go. I mean, they've been sitting around the house and they haven't been practicing, and they want to get out there and play, and the coaches want to get out there and coach as well. I saw some coaches post on social media. They are anxious. They want to get back out there with their team and start practicing.
I know, let's start with today. Obviously, there are no games today. Everything has been canceled, and let's just go through that, because we made mention of that prior to coming on the air.
Right.
Some people, some teams have already rescheduled.
Yeah, they have. So Central and Smith Station, that were originally going to be our game of the weekend, that's this Friday, is now rescheduled. They don't have a date, but that will be rescheduled. As of now, the Muskogee County games we saw, I know Jordan, Spencer have to play each other. Columbus and Carver, Hardaway and Kendrick, they're all still on. Those are games that were originally for this Friday. The games that were for Tuesday, they still have not set a rescheduled date. So that is still on. Brookstone Calvary is still on. I think they're on that standby. Pacelli Strong Rock, another Friday game. They're still up in the air on standby. As of now, it was just the Alabama games that we were going to do. Aside from Glenwood, they have decided with Calvary that they're going to do the game, and they even moved it up. So instead of 3 and 4:30, it is now 12 and 1:30 for that Glenwood Calvary rivalry game this Saturday afternoon. So we'll keep you up to date, DJ, as we get into tomorrow morning. A lot of these schools are going to make decisions about school. Everyone plans on being back, and we'll see rescheduled dates for all the games that were missed these last couple of days.
Richard and Thrift, with such a robust basketball schedule, how do you guys coordinate with the authorities as far as the athletic directors and coaches as to, of course, your lineup with Georgia Alabama Sports Live?
Yeah, so a lot of the things we do, D, is I reach out to ADs each month at the beginning of the month, and I give them, because remember, we have a lot of schools, and we got to make sure everybody gets the same. Muskogee County, the private schools, Harris County, everybody's got to get that same amount of love each month. So I try to plan and be strategic with it, in which it's not overwhelming, because a lot of the times with basketball, most schools play on Tuesdays and Fridays. So there's really 9 locations going on. We just can't be there at 9 different locations. We can do 4. That's about as max, but not 9. So I send that out. And then if there's a game or an event that they specifically want us to do that may have not been on that list, we're going to make it happen. But they usually are cool with whatever I pick, and I send them again at the beginning of each month. So we can, if we did this by the seat of our pants, DJ, we would be overwhelmed. We have to make sure we have a meeting. Everyone knows where they're going at the beginning of the month. And then scheduling conflicts happen, and then we can make do. But at least they know ahead of time, let me put this on the calendar. I'm going to be doing this game. So that's kind of how we do it. And then we reach out to the coaches and the ADs the day of, so they know when we get there, it's easy into getting set up and stuff. And most of the schools know who we are.
Now, we talked about your scheduling, of course, with that Georgia Alabama Sports Live. We talked about how the schools are able to maneuver and regroup. Richard, you're a representation of the military, and obviously the folks at Fort Moore who, again, I know they have a set of rules, and they're probably as strict and as more disciplined than any of us. How do they communicate with their people on base and a lot of the civil service workers, and how do they decide when they shut down? When do they decide? I know you even work on the base.
Absolutely, DJ. I've been periodically checking my government email. We did get a email stating if you work below I-20 that you are authorized to telework, and I think I got to go. Probably going to telework today, but I tell you what, if I was still in that transportation unit up in LaGrange, I would probably be one of the 350 Georgia Army National Guard soldiers that got mobilized as Governor Brian Kemp actually has issued a state active duty order to help with the ice storms. I have actually helped with the ice storms. Snowmageddon 2014. I went to Augusta. That is where one of a very rare tree at Augusta National got damaged because of the ice storms, and they had to uproot it. But yeah, I was right there in Augusta in 2014 where we were helping people like get to their cars, and we had our military vehicles going in some icy areas, and that's really what I was doing in the first part of my National Guard career. But now I've kind of gone back into more of an advisor role, and so I'm just teleworking from home, and we'll be back in the office actually this weekend because we've got an event happening on Saturday. But yeah, the Guard is always ready, and I know I could speak for the Alabama National Guard too. I know some people over there as well. Being at Georgia Alabama Sports Live, I know that the military and and what we do on Georgia Alabama Sports Live kind of ties into place because I've gotten to know some Army recruiters that actually attend high school football games. I try to, keep close ties on them, and it's a good way to network and just find out, just be a good influence to these kids in this community because who knows, they might end up being in my unit someday. And so I just want to build that relationship with them as well.
So the bottom line is, as far as the communication as to what's closed, what's open on the base, again, I want to give a sense of how that's communicated.
Well, I know that base operations, because a lot of people are local to the base, base operations are going on as planned. I've yet to get to the base since the snow has fallen. But I know that there are some people that actually work on the base that live outside the area. It's really up to their chain of command to determine whether they need to come into work. But I almost guarantee you the people that actually live on the base are coming into work. It's because they're right there, and their leadership knows they're right there.
Yep.
But yeah, so far, like the people that where I work, there's people that are commuting an hour, 2 hours every day. And so they're probably getting special permission to work from home.
Good deal. Good deal. Thrift, let's get on with the basketball as far as we know it. And, of course, several games in the SEC last night to include the number 5 Florida Gators beating up on South Carolina 70-69.
Yeah, what a win from the Gators. And I told you, DJ, yesterday, I think they're the second best team in the country right now. And everybody's like, well, they just barely beat a South Carolina team that doesn't even have an SEC win. I get it, but the SEC is tough to win, and it's definitely tough to win on the road, DJ. So anytime you can get a win, ask Auburn with at Georgia last weekend. It is tough, and now they go to, I think, 17-2 to keep their streak and trying to keep up with the Auburns of the world, who is undefeated in SEC play. So great win for Coach Todd Golden. By the way, I don't know if you know this, guys. Coach Golden was actually on Bruce Pearl's staff at the very beginning, and I think he took a play out of his playbook, and he's got Florida back to the Billy Donovan years as a team that maybe can win a national championship.
Well, Richard, I tell you what, Coach Calipari, who obviously ceremonially left, of course, Kentucky to go over to Arkansas, and everybody just thought, I guess, that it was just going to be instant success, and they've taken a few lumps over the head, but obviously they were able to get a win over Mike White's UGA Bulldogs last night, 68-65, and the Bulldogs fell out of the top 25 after, of course, stepping up for the first time in a long time. But big win for Calipari and his Arkansas Razorbacks.
Absolutely, it is the first SEC win as John Calipari's first year at Arkansas, and I knew this was going to be a tough matchup for Georgia. They're playing Arkansas, who's desperate for a win, on the road in Fayetteville. I was actually watching some of this game. Georgia was up 38-26 at the half, and then Arkansas ends up pulling away and ends up getting the 68-65 win. The projected lottery pick for Georgia, Ozza Newell, had 18 points. I'm still impressed with this Georgia team. Now, they got a big game this Saturday against Florida. That's going to be in Gainesville. I'm wondering if Georgia continues losing SEC games, if Joe Lunardi's going to have them as a bubble team. Right now, they're projected to be an 8 seed in the tournament. I think that Georgia still has had an impressive season. They're still 14-5. Remember, this team went to the semifinals of the NIT last year, lost to Seton Hall. I love what Mike White has done. But yeah, John Calipari, he needed this one because the skeptics were, well, you left Kentucky to go to Arkansas. But Thrift, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't the writing written on the wall at Kentucky? Like, Kentucky's fans were getting a little perturbed that John Calipari was having these NCAA tournament first round exits. Like a couple years ago, they lost to the 15 seed St. Peter. They lost to Oakland this year. And so the Kentucky fan base, and you got to give credit to Mark Pope and what he's done at Kentucky. But yeah, John Calipari, maybe the grass isn't always greener. Thought maybe he could win right away at Arkansas. But yeah, good win for the Arkansas Razorbacks. Beating a Georgia team that's projected to be an NCAA tournament team.
Yeah, well, I want to say this. You're up by 12 on the road. You got to win that game if you're Mike White. That's 3 straight losses. You have to be able to win that. Calipari and Kentucky mutually left each other. So, man, what a performance from Arkansas to finally get that much-needed SEC win. They're going to have to win quite a few in a row to get back into NCAA tournament talk.
And Thrift, we had a couple of top 25 matchups. Of course, Texas A&M ranked number 15 up against number 16th ranked Ole Miss. Texas A&M pulled it out by a point, 63-62.
Yeah, so A&M, led by Buzz Williams, they got some guys there, DJ, that seems like they've been there for 8 years because of the COVID and everything else. And yet they keep winning. They're probably the most experienced team we have in the SEC to win on the road at an Ole Miss team that, projected to make a deep run into the NCAA tournament this year and under Coach Chris Beard. What a win for A&M. That puts them at 4-2 in conference play. And they got at Texas coming up. They already beat them early in the year, but the SEC is showing that the top dogs like an A&M. And by the way, before this loss, Ole Miss was tied with Alabama for second place in the conference. So big win for Texas A&M.
I'd like to hear from both of you guys on this. The fact of the matter is that there are multiple teams in the top 25 out of the SEC, to include the number 1 ranked Auburn Tigers. Richard, why don't we start with you? Obviously, we're only a few weeks away from March Madness, believe it or not. And again, the SEC is sitting pretty.
Oh, and I think the SEC is going to get a bunch of number 1 seeds and a bunch of number 2 seeds. According to Joe Lunardi, the latest bracketology report, Auburn is projected to be the overall number 1 seed. Alabama is projected to be a number 1 seed. And I think Florida and Tennessee, if they actually do very well in the SEC tournament, I think they can get a number 1 seed too. I don't think they're going to reward 3 or 4 SEC teams the number 1 seed, because right now you got Duke and Iowa State right there. Houston is right behind as well, what Tom Izzo's done at Michigan State. But I think what's impressive is that Joe Lunardi is projecting 12 teams to make the SEC tournament. And by the way, Texas is the 13th team, and they're considered a bubble team. They're considered the first team out. So if Texas gets on a run, we could end up having 13 teams in the NCAA tournament represented by the SEC.
Unbelievable, man.
Thrift, before you go ahead and answer that question, I want to ask you this. With Janai Broome, of course, still out. I hope that he's coming back real soon. But how impressive has it been for Bruce Pearl and the Auburn Tigers to perform without the best player in America?
Yeah, and I wanted to say this, too. This is why Auburn's the best team in the country. You take Cooper Flagg off of Duke, they're not number 1 team, okay? They're not. Cooper Flagg is that big of a difference. Duke's got a lot of talent, but they don't have experience, and some of these young guys are up and down the way their season goes. With Auburn, I knew this, but I think the rest of the country starting to figure it out. They can beat you in multiple ways. If they don't have Janai Broome, guess what? They got next man up in Chaney Johnson, who's putting up 10 points a game off the bench. With Broome being out, he's putting up 15 and 10 off the bench. That's similar to Broome numbers. You got Dylan Carwell, who's a big guy that you can bang on other big bodies. Obviously, Broome is the best player in the country, but Auburn starts to play a little bit more free-flowing with their offense, because when Broome's in the game, he's kind of like Shaq. You got to throw him down the ball every couple possessions to show him the love that of being the best offensive player in the country. When he's not in the game, that's a bunch of ball movement moving around, and they got guys that can switch. What I've been more impressed with is their defense. Chad Baker-Mazar can get you a bucket. Tahad Pettiford has been a huge addition as a freshman phenom over last year's Aiden Holloway. This team is deep. They're loaded, and they don't have to rush Broome back, DJ. And now that they don't have to rush Broome back, which is a good sign, the last thing you want is a lagging sprained ankle being with you all the rest of the season. This allowed Auburn to get even better and get guys like Jaheim Upson and Ja'Kai Howard, guys, more minutes, because they weren't getting that many minutes when Broome was playing. So that, again, when NCAA tournament time comes, foul trouble, how games are called, whatever it may be, you want to be able to rely on your bench. Auburn's got that, and Auburn's showing the best team in the country. They may lose a couple games with Broome being out. Still doesn't stop the fact that I think they're the best team in the country when fully healthy.
Richard, what kind of effect do you think, obviously, in the day of NIL and the day of money, but Broome's his draft stock, he's the number one top pick projected in the NBA draft. How much of that is them letting him heal, or how much is that his people telling him, you know what, don't risk it, don't take any chances coming back before you need to?
Yeah, there's no rush getting Johni Broome back. He's still going to be projected as a lottery pick. And in the years of NIL, I know a lot of these players, they don't have to rush to try to have an impact in college in their first year to try to get to the NBA. They're going to be fine. I wouldn't be shocked if well, I think he's going to go to the NBA, but you know, he could actually play another year in college. I think that Auburn is so deep that they don't have to worry about Johni Broome coming back. But I tell you what, this game against Tennessee, I'm telling you, this is the epic game, 8:30 on ESPN on Saturday. I know that Auburn fans are excited about that. I know that Neville Arena probably has, you always see those pictures of the fans camped outside of the arena. I'm sure that ticket prices are skyrocketed for this game. But I'm looking at, I want a sneak peek, and I'm looking at the schedule. They do play Florida on February the 8th on a Saturday. That's another big game that Auburn is going to have at home. Playing Alabama on the 15th, and then they play Kentucky. So, you know, Auburn, and then they close out the regular season taking on Kentucky and Alabama. So Auburn's going to have a tough schedule. I don't think you need to rush back Johni Broome, but they're going to need him. If they want to win an NCAA championship, they're going to eventually need him. We've seen the selection committee that does not reward teams, and sometimes they do. I don't know if you remember, Thrift, back in 2000 when Kenyon Martin got hurt for Cincinnati.
It changed the trajectory of the national championship.
Completely changed the trajectory, yes.
And Michigan State didn't win in that championship.
I want to keep it right here. I want to keep it right here with Broome because, again, you know, as a player, as a former player, you got to protect the player from himself. But in this case, there's so much on the line. You know, of course, the great play, of course, Auburn wanting to advance and go all the way to, of course, the championship. But at the same time, you know, the issues or the reasons of Johni and his draft stock, you know, but again, as a player, you just want to play, regardless. It mean, you know, whether it's a strain, whether it's a pull, whether it's a tear, you want to play, and sometimes you just have to protect the players from themselves.
Yeah, exactly right. But here's the problem, DJ. If you let him out too long, it could hurt his ability to win the Player of the Year. Because if he starts missing games, and that from 2 games turns into 6 games, is that going to be a factor when voting for the Player of the Year? And Auburn has never had a Player of the Year. They're trying to do something in their history, which is be the number 1 overall seed, stay number 1, win a national championship, and bring in a Player of the Year. These would be an historic season for Bruce Pearl and Auburn if they're able to continue to do that. But again, I think the bigger picture, and I think Johni would agree with this, as great as an individual award is, that national championship is a little bit better, man. And not having him for an NCAA tournament to try to rush him back to help his cause for the Player of the Year, there's no way Bruce Pearl is going to make that decision for his program, and I don't think anybody should. And then also hurt the draft stock of Broome if he's injured and when it turns into the summer. So there's a lot of things on the line here, which makes it a tough decision. But I know Auburn's and Broome are going to do what's best for both.
Well, guys, let's take a short pause for the calls. And when we come back, let's talk about our local teams, the Cougars and, of course, CVCC. Give us an update, if we will. And, of course, you watching out there, of course, this is the Sports Visions Morning Show on Facebook and YouTube. We'll be right back in a moment. Welcome back to the Sports Visions Morning Show. Of course, we are on Facebook and YouTube, and that's our Sports Visions locale on each one of those platforms. Guys, you know, before we went to the break, we talked about let's come back home, let's bring it back home. And the joy and the pleasure of having a show like this is that we get to feature our local teams in the Tri-City areas. Of course, a couple of teams in particularly that, you know, we are excited that, you know, at least we can talk about them, you know, again, and that's Columbus State University as well as the CVCC. Thrift, let's just start with Coach Moore and his team. From what I understand, they're off to a great start.
Unbelievable start. So this is Coach Moore's has some good programs. I remember my best friend Cam Baker played on a team that got ranked nationally, ended up winning the Peach Belt regular season. But these Columbus State Cougars are ranked 19th nationally right now, DJ, and they are just on the upward trend as they come in 14-2, and this team is playing their best basketball right now. They're still not in first place in the conference, so they're going to have to beat one of the teams to keep up with them. But coming up, they have Lander on Sunday. They have UC Bedford, then Augusta University. That's the team that they've lost to earlier, January the 4th. At Augusta. They get to host them. That's February 1st, Saturday. You're going to want to be in the Lumpkin Center. So next week, both games are at home. Wednesday at 7:30 against UC Bedford, and then Saturday against Augusta University. Jared Adderton's the leading scorer. He looks like he's going to be the Peach Belt Conference Player of the Year. He is putting up over 21 points per game. Jelani James, the senior, is having an incredible senior season. He's putting up 16.1. Wisdom Yubo, who started off injured, the point guard, coming in off the bench, putting up 12 points a game. Rakeem Gary's a D1 transfer from New Mexico State that came in and has done a great job. But then Cordell Brown and Roman Sun, these guys are glue guys that start for the program. They're deep. This is probably one of his deepest teams he's had in a few years now, and one of the reasons why they're one of the top teams in the Peach Belt Conference. We're cheering for them. We hope they win a championship, and Coach Moore, he's super excited about it, DJ. He's thinking bigger picture than just Peach Belt. He thinks this team could make a deep run in the NCAA tournament, so I can't wait for that, and it all starts behind Jared Adderton, who is just having a sensational senior season.
Richard, I know that you love basketball, you love calling games, but obviously for whatever reasons, you know, we gotta prick the interest of those fans out there, those Cougar fans, because I'd love to see that gymnasium packed one day out there at the beautiful Lumpkin Center.
Oh, absolutely. It's really a great event to come to the Lumpkin Center. You're going to get the girls team first. They'll usually tip off at 5:30, like on Wednesday nights. And Coach Matt Hauser has done a great job with the Columbus State Lady Cougars. He got them to the Peach Belt Conference Final. They did lose in heartbreak fashion to Georgia Southwestern State University. I do want to make mention that Coach Matt Hauser has been named the D2 WHoopDirt.com Coach of the Week. So congratulations to Coach Hauser. Here's just some of the schedule conflicts. They were supposed to play Flagler down in St. Augustine on Wednesday. That game has got postponed. It will be scheduled at a later date because they got to get that game in because it's a Peach Belt Conference game. And then that game that was supposed to be played on Saturday against Lander up in North Carolina got moved to Sunday. And of course, they've got a huge home game next Wednesday against South Carolina Beaufort, the Cougars and the Lady Cougars. If you remember, Thrift, last year, the Columbus State Cougars went to Beaufort, South Carolina, and lost in 4 overtimes. So, and this is the team that is in first place in the Peach Belt Conference. So that's going to be a big Peach Belt Conference game. And then on Saturday, they got to play Augusta University, which they'll get to play them at the Lumpkin Center. I know the Cougars lost to them up in Augusta. And so we're excited with the regular season winding down. We're excited about how deep that the Columbus State Cougars and Lady Cougars can go in the Peach Belt Conference. And just to make note, if they get first place, which right now the Columbus State Cougars could possibly fight for first place, they would be hosting the Peach Belt Conference tournament. How great would that be for the city to have all these Peach Belt teams come to Columbus and play in the tournament at the Lumpkin Center? I think it'd be great for the city. But I do want to go back to the Lady Cougars. They are led by their leading scorer, Lataya Reeves. And also Alana Rawls, she's been a double-double just about every game. And a local product here in Columbus, Breland Snipes, the Kennesaw State transfer who played for the Shaw Lady Raiders, has really come on and had just a great season for Coach Hauser and the Lady Cougars.
Thrift, I want to just pause for a minute here to elaborate on a little bit on that Lumpkin Center, because again, you talk about all the wonderful tournaments that have been held there and hosted there. You guys have called some sensational tournaments as well, but that Lumpkin Center, is that the best kept secret in the Peach Belt?
Yeah, it 100% is, DJ, and it's a beautiful facility that we are glad that we get to be there and be a part of. And when they cover events and stuff, and you made mention of maybe hosting a Peach Belt Conference, the GIAA semifinals and state championship games are going to be held there at the end of February. Also, rumor has it that if Hardaway girls, who are the #1 seed, and we'll talk high school in a minute, in their region, if they continue that way until the end of the season, they'll get to host a region tournament. And we were talking with Coach Mills, if there's a Hardaway Carver girls and a Spencer Carver boys championship game, they may have to move to a bigger venue because that Hardaway gymnasium, I don't know if it's going to be able to hold how many people come to Carver Spencer. DJ, I was in full attendance for that last time those two teams faced off at Carver. But you're right. It's an excellent facility. CSU's got some of the top facilities in all of Division II and all of the state. If you've never been on their campus, go and take a look. And it's worth going to these games at the Lumpkin Center. See some high-level basketball. It's a lot of fun. It's entertaining. Go out and show support to the local team we got in this area.
As we talk region high school basketball play, as well as we're going to talk about CVCC and even Columbus State and the Peach Belt, guys. But I want to hear from each of you. How important is home court advantage?
Yeah, it's a big deal, especially if you're CSU. You get to host the tournament. That's a pretty fair advantage, I would think. So I think in CSU and for Division II, for them to, and they need the girls to hold on and the boys to host those tournaments, I think would be a significant advantage for Coach Hauser and Coach Moore to win a conference tournament championship.
Richard?
DJ, it's a huge advantage, especially if you've seen their home records, as the Lumpkin Center has really been one of the top home court advantages in the Peach Belt Conference. And you look at the fans that get behind the Columbus State Cougars and Lady Cougars, it's a huge disadvantage for these other Peach Belt teams to have to travel to Columbus. But I think that would be great for the city, and we're just hoping that the Cougars and Lady Cougars can get that #1 seed so they can host the tournament. And I know for a fact that just the way that the Cougars and Lady Cougars are playing this season. Both have amazing Peach Belt Conference records. They both have one loss in the Peach Belt Conference. And so we are pulling for the Cougars and Lady Cougars to get that number 1 seed so they can have home field advantage in the Peach Belt Conference tournament.
If you're just joining us right now online and you're wondering, hey, I thought you guys were on the radio. Well, you're right. We're not on the radio. However, the Arctic Blast has grounded us somewhat for the second day. Of course, Thrift and I, as well as Richard, we, of course, are putting this show together, the special edition of the Sports Visions Morning Show. We're usually on Sports Visions 92.1 FM. However, the inclement weather for the past couple of days, we chose to be out of harm's way. And, of course, all the officials, they thought it might be this day might be the best day to stay safe, to make sure. And we'll be back in the studios hopefully in the morning at 6 a.m. on Sports Visions 92.1 FM with the morning show, Sports Visions morning show with DJ and Thrift. Guys, when we talk about CVCC, the Pirates, if you will, I know that Georgia Alabama Sports Live has a special relationship, and you guys do the streaming of the games. Richard, obviously having an opportunity to help uplift these this junior college that really, again, we talk about attendance, but the bottom line is you're able to see with Thrift. Of course, I know that you have, as a part of orchestrating your wonderful scheduling, you guys just want to make sure that this program is not left out.
Yeah, exactly right, man. And CVCC girls, they're undefeated. 5-0 Coach Joe Richardson's team, led by Zy Thompson, who's looking like being the player of the year. If they keep their winning ways, which I think they will, they'll not only win the state tournament this year, they'll make it to the national part of the tournament. And I think the Lady Pirates have every bit the talent to make a deep run. I'm really been impressed with Coach Joe Richardson's program here in year number 2. Now, in year number 1 of Coach Mo Scott, who came from the D1 level, was a D1 coach, came from Louisiana Monroe. It's going to take some time, DJ. He took over this program in August. School started 2 weeks after he started, man. He had 2 weeks to go out there and find kids. Okay, that's not a lot of time to recruit. He had only one returning player, and and Micah Hoover. But this team with Jared Days-Jean, a freshman, Cameron Fowler, Cameron Carroll, there is talent. They've had a little bit of a struggle here. They're 500 in league play, DJ, and they have a tough schedule coming up. They got Coastal Alabama. They got and Snead State. Those are ranked 1 and 2 in the conference. But if they're able to beat them at home, it could be a huge momentum boost for the CVCC men's program. So next time the men will play, because they're supposed to have a game today on the road, men and women, but they do not. It got rescheduled. So the women have a game at home on Saturday. The games are free. You can watch Central Georgia Tech take on the Lady Pirates, who are undefeated in conference play. Top team in Georgia, top team in Alabama, 2 o'clock. We're going to have it on Georgia Alabama Sports Live. On Monday, they take on the number 1 team, the boys do, in Snead State, and the girls take on Snead State program that's number 3 in the conference. So that's a huge game, 5 and 7 o'clock, live from CVCC. Again, these games are free. I was talking with Dean Taylor, Ashley Landy, the AD. We want butts in the seats. We need people out there. I promise you it's a lot of fun. You'll enjoy it. And we want to hope to see everyone out there and see the beautiful campus. They've done some renovations, DJ. So come out, show support to Coach Scott, Coach Richardson, and the Pirate programs. We're going to be there on Sunday for Baseball Media Day, DJ. So what I'm hoping for this is kind of 2 things. This allows athletes and baseball players that have been recruited to talk to the CVCC coaches if they want to be able to go the JUCO route, and for CVCC to showcase their beautiful facilities. They want bodies over there. They want these schools to be able to see it, players, and we're hoping that we're able to do that with them being such a great media partner with us, and we appreciate them, D.
That's good stuff, man. But one thing about having a program such as this, the Sports Visions Morning Show, is that we can go off script if we want to, if we need to, because we can. And I want to hear from both of you guys with, one thing that we can do is that, and again, we take calls on the Sports Visions morning show when, of course, when they have issues or we have situations or things that just need to be talked about. But for a long, long time, it's no secret. But I'm just gonna put it out there, and I want to hear from both of you guys. What is it gonna take? Because the attendance at basketball games, both boys or men and women's at Columbus State and at CVCC, it's hard. It's been hard, and it's not something that just come up. It's been going on for quite some time. In your mind, if you guys had anything to offer the athletic director or the faculty or the administration at each one of these institutions, what would it be? Because again, they have, I know Columbus State has, one of the finest facilities in the Peach Belt Conference, and CVCC for a junior college, I think that they have a very adequate facility. But you got to get butts in seats, like you said. Thrift, why don't we start with you, and what do you suggest?
Well, there's a lot of things that you're going to have to do, marketing and advertising. It's kind of what Bruce Pearl did with Auburn. Nobody showed up to Auburn. Auburn was a morbid program. He had to go out and really entice and the community, the students. That's a main thing is for CSU and CVC students. They need to be at these games. Then you talk about everyone else in the community. They definitely need to be there. But I first want to start with the students. There's a ton of students at CSU. I know I graduated from there. CVCC, same thing. They need to be in attendance. Whether it be help the teachers entice the students that you'll get extra credit if you go to a game, whatever it may be, that get students involved, because once they get that taste, maybe they want to come back, have a great big student section for both of them. And then community-wise, you're going to have to have different nights. DJ, you know about this in advertising and marketing. You're going to have to entice people with the entertainment aspect of the sports world to get people in the seat. So hopefully we can all work together in being able to do that. I know that's why we have this platform. That's why Georgia Alabama Sports Live streams. But we put the word out, but we need help with our community partners to do it.
Well, I know from experience when I was in college, when I wasn't calling games, I was in that student section with those students cheering on for my alma mater. I think it starts with the students. You need to build up that student section. I mean, you've got some historic student sections out there, not just at Columbus State, but also at CVCC. I think they need to build up their student section. It also comes with the SID. The SID's got a very important job promoting the athletic programs, getting those flyers out, posting on social media. The coaches do a great job posting on social media, but you also got to reach the community. I think it starts with making this a big event. I know that I like taking my family to sporting events, but we like to have fun, make it affordable. The concessions are affordable. Why not have, like, between timeouts, you have like a game day host that has like a 3-point shot, a layup. Like, you try to build like the circle around the bat and have like a bat race, kind of like in minor league baseball. I don't see why they can't do that at the collegiate level and make this an event so that families that not necessarily wanting to know about the X's and O's of Columbus State basketball, they could take their kids to a basketball game. I know we got a lot of basketball fans here in Columbus. Just take their kids to a basketball game so they can have some fun, and it would just be a great event, and the Lumpkin Center would be packed. I know that Columbus has a lot of basketball fans in this community, and I think it really starts by making the event fun. And that's just some ideas thrown out there. I know the game day experience is outstanding. Brian Salito does a fantastic job as the public address announcer. He really makes the game exciting. And I know Scott Miller on the broadcast, like, if you can't make it out to the Lumpkin Center, he's the best. I mean, when you hear him, I mean, you think Columbus State Cougars, and we just got to get more familiar with Columbus State and CVCC in this community.
One thing is for sure, guys, I do know one thing about economic impact and the impact it could have on these athletic programs. And again, this is not recreating the wheel. This is just, if you just go back and do some research on some of the schools that decided to invest in the promotions and marketing of these programs, because, as big of as many people as the Lumpkin Center holds and as many games as CBCC plays, you know what, I'm sure, with the right promotions and getting the kids and getting the communities to come out, that's extra, 30, 40, $50,000 into those budgets. And again, you know what? I know that those both men and men's program definitely could benefit from, those extra dollars in the budget as well as at CVCC. So guys, what I'm saying is, whether it's the administration, whether it's the board of directors, whether it's the president, whoever it is, having an understanding of what kind of impact, increasing the attendance, increasing the promoting and information about these schools and these programs, man, to galvanize the alumni. There's a lot of there's a lot of Columbus State alumni in the area that remember, just like Georgia, because I know you can't compare them to Georgia, Auburn, and Alabama and that kind of, but you still got people that are proud of Columbus State, like Thrift Barringer, who was a graduate of Columbus State. And the same way with CVCC. Guys, it can be done. You just got to get somebody that to convince somebody one of the leaders that you know what, they got to invest into the program.
Yeah, exactly right, DJ. And that's the big thing, is that we got great programs that need notoriety, that should have every game packed out. Especially you got Jared Adderton, who having a phenomenal year. The men and women could both win a conference tournament. Let's go back to those days with Herbert Green, when it used to be packed house and Jay Sparks, because these programs are playing at that level where it used to be back 20 years ago. So I would hope that something would give. Same with CVCC, that's a hidden gem. And then I want to go to the kids today. I went to the junior college route, and I was talking with Coach Corey Black, who is a big junior college advocate. It's D-free, meaning if you get a scholarship, your nose should not be turned up. Now with NIL, transfer portal specifically, it's harder than ever for kids to get recruited. If you're getting recruited by JUCO and that's where you need to go to get to that 4-year school, you better take advantage of that, or you probably won't be playing next year, because these D2, D3, D1, they're waiting for the trickle-down effect. They're waiting on the transfer portal to open up, like the D1 are waiting for everything to open up to see if they want to grab from another school. D2 waiting on those lower-end D1 kids that couldn't make it to come there. D3 doing the same thing with D2. And so they're waiting, and then it's last minute. And then by the time you know it, you're looking in June and July, and you don't have a place to go. So CVCC is one of those places, a premier program in the Southeast junior college-wise. And I'm looking forward to helping build the notoriety, not the programs, because the coaches do a great job, just the notoriety, get people in the seats.
Good deal, guys. And of course, let's finish up. Let's talk about the Atlanta Hawks, because obviously the Hawks are just kind of festering around there, kind of mild-manneredly. But last night, they took one under the chin. 114-104 loss to the Pistons. Kate Cunningham went off on the Hawks, 29 points, 6 rebounds, 11 assists in State Farm Arena.
Yeah, they're frustrated me, because I want them to take the next step, which is they're already at 500. This is what I was saying with Steve Holman. They're coming into this game 2 games above 500. They go on a 7-game winning streak or 6-game winning streak. That 2 games turns into now 9 games. And then like I said, and then let's say another 5-game stretch, they go 3-2 or 2-3. You know what I mean? And then they go on another 6-game winning streak after that 500 stretch. Then you're talking about from being 8 games to now 14. That's how you get to a great record. It's not rattling off 20 straight wins. No one does that, but it's winning 7, going 500 4 games, winning 7 more, going 500 4 games. That's how they do it in a long season. And every time we get to that point, we start losing again. They need to get on that winning streak. And playing at home against a really improved Detroit team who's going to make the playoffs this year, Cade Cunningham, as I think the most improved player in the NBA. He is sensational, and they're doing this without Jaden Ivey. It is not a horrible loss like it was last year when they won 14 games to Detroit. They were terrible. It's not the same Detroit team. Great job by J.B. Bickerstaff, but for the Atlanta Hawks, I understand you got young talent. I understand you're building for the future. Your future's looking bright. Let's start winning now, though. Okay, this team is good enough now to be a top 4 seed and to at least host a first-round playoff match. You're going to have to start winning some games. Games like last night at home have to be taken advantage of if you're the Atlanta Hawks. Not going to get really hard on them because I like the future of this team. They're full of 20 and 21-year-olds, But come on, guys. Let's get on that. Let's extend it. Let's get above and beyond and be a top 4 seed this year. Isn't that right, Richard?
Yeah, it's not a bad loss. Detroit is the most improved team in the NBA. I think that J.B. Bickerstaff, if it wasn't for what Kenny Atkinson's doing in Cleveland, he'd be a candidate for Coach of the Year. And also, all the Detroit teams, you saw the Tigers make it to the playoffs, Lions NFC Championship, Michigan winning the national championship. Yeah, it's spreading over to the Detroit Pistons too, so that's good to see, because really the Pistons haven't been as great as they've been maybe since the early 2000s when they won a championship in 2004. But Cade Cunningham, he was the overall #1 pick in 2021. He got hurt in his second year, averaging 24 points a game. And so he is starting to look like that superstar that he was projected to be when the Detroit Pistons drafted him. I can't believe they're doing this without Jaden Ivey. He was Cade Cunningham's running mate. But the Hawks just need to get consistency. Every time you see the Hawks go on a run, they end up losing at home to a team that might be a borderline playoff team, and that can be frustrating. I mean, they've lost to the Knicks on MLK Day. I mean, the Knicks are really good. I'm looking at the schedule. I mean, they should beat the Raptors this Saturday. The Raptors are 11-32. They're one of the worst teams in the NBA. They don't have anybody. They got rid of everybody from that championship team from 2019. They go on the road against a very disappointing Timberwolves team. This team was in the Western Conference Finals last year. I think that New York won that trade between Julius Randle and Karl Anthony Towns. The rescheduled game against the Houston Rockets is going to be next Tuesday. And then to close out the calendar year in January, they play the Cavaliers on TNT. You know, I'm going to be watching that game. The Hawks actually have really good success against the Cavaliers.
They're 2-0 against the Cavs this year. Cavs got 7 losses. 2 of them came to the Hawks. And I want to throw this out. You made mention by Kenny Atkinson of Cleveland. He was with the Nets. Remember when the Nets had James Harden, Kevin Durant, Kyrie, and they fired Kenny because they were like, hey, we need a better coach. Let's go get Steve Nash. Kenny Atkinson takes over Cleveland. They're 36-7, first place in the NBA. So maybe it wasn't the coach, CJ. Maybe it's sometimes a player, and you're seeing what the Suns are doing right now with KD. It's like ever since he left Golden State, no success follows him wherever he goes.
There's a lot of intriguing teams in the NBA, but none more so than OKC.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. #1 team in the Western Conference. It's taken me a while to be a firm believer in them. I wasn't a believer in them when they had KD. I just always felt with Russell Westbrook, they were always going to play that Spurs team, that Heat team, and just never be able to get over the hump. I think this team is a little bit different because they're not star heavy. They're just a really deep roster that's been well constructed by the best GM in the entire NBA in Sam Presti. He not only did this one time with the young guns of OKC and Harden, Ibaka, KD, and Westbrook back in the 2011-2012 season when they made the NBA Finals. He did it all over again. He lost all those guys and then rebuilt another top team. And it's led by Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He's the toughest guard. He is just so smooth with the basketball, putting up 32 points a game. He's an MVP favorite. Jalen Williams, who's a guy that came from Santa Clara, not even a huge college. He's putting up 20 a game. He's 6'6". He's kind of the modern-day Charles Barkley. He can guard bigs. He can guard smalls. He's got better handles than Charles did, but just overall like a Swiss Army knife. He does all the things right, and he's not very big. And they're doing this without Chet Holmgren, who was the overall #2 pick from a few years ago. Chet putting up 17 and 8 before he got hurt. So now when Chet comes back, this team's going to go even further. They got bigs inside and Hartenstein. We've got elite defenders and Lou Dort and Andrew Wiggins there. And then you got Caruso, and there may be a trade play here. They may not want to. That's the thing. Everybody keeps saying, like, you're a top team. Who you can go trade? Who's that final piece? Some of these coaches don't want to make a trade, DJ, because it messes up team chemistry. Sometimes that piece that you're trying to force in there is not what you need. Maybe what you need already there. And Sam Presti's not going to make a move like that unless it's something that he feels like is really going to help his team. But OKC definitely and Cleveland are the 2 best teams. Boston's still my favorite, but the best teams right now, if you ask me, is Cleveland, OKC.
Richard?
Yeah, and I would not sleep on the Houston Rockets. They got a big win against the Cavaliers the other night. Alperen Sengun is really an underrated center. I think he makes the All-Star team. I like seeing this Houston Rockets team, all the pieces they have with Ime Udoka, the former Celtics coach. And now the Rockets with Jalen Green leading the way, averaging 21 points a game. Fred VanVleet, a great player who won a ring with Toronto in 2019.
Brady VanVleet.
Yeah, and we got Amen Thompson, one half of the Thompson twins. I know Usar's over in Detroit. Amen Thompson, who's averaging 13 points a game. How about Dylan Brooks? This guy was a dog in Memphis, and he was just a defensive specialist. And of course, Jabari Smith Jr., the number 3 overall pick.
Which he's battling with injury right now. So
he is out with injury. But right now, I mean, I can't believe they're doing this without Jabari Smith Jr. They are in second place in the Western Conference. Memphis is a half game behind them. I think what Zach Edey has done, he is going to be first team all rookie. But the Denver Nuggets are right there as the 4 seed. I think championship experience could be a factor. If they have to face Oklahoma City in the second round of the Western Conference playoffs, I'm sure the experts are going to pick them as the favorite. I know OKC had the number 1 seed last year. It's because Nikola Jokic. You can never doubt this guy in the playoffs. I think that OKC and Houston are good stories as far as regular season. Memphis is really a very good improved team as well. But right below the charge, you got Denver in 4th place, the Lakers in 5th place, and the Clippers in 6th place.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I tell you what, it's been a terrific show, but I can't end this show without, of course, expressing how important it is for folks to, of course, put this on their agenda for this weekend. And that's the George Washington Carver Tigers State Championship Block Party.
Yep.
It's going to go on at 3100 8th Street, right up there on the hill. And that'll be Saturday from 12 to 4 p.m. And this is all a celebration about the AA or the Class 2A State Championship Carver Tigers football team.
Yeah, I'm excited about it, DJ. I know you're going to be in attendance. I'm going to be coming in early. I'm going to try to do a video and a promo on Sports Vision, Georgia Alabama Sports Live about the event. We've been pushing it on the Sports Vision morning show, but unfortunately, Glenwood Calvary play at 12 and 1:30 Saturday. So I'm going to have to be coming before and then after that game. But everyone else should go and be in attendance. It's going to be an incredible scene. DJ, we made this PSA. I'm going to say it again. Pat on the backs is not helping this program. The kids need money to get the rings that they deserve. How hard is it? We can raise money for a lot of things, Columbus Clingstones, but we don't want to raise money for a state championship team that put Columbus on the map with one of the more historic, dominant runs we've seen in quite some time. It has been close to 20 years since we had a Columbus public school win a state championship, and we got to make this work. Okay. Mm-hmm. All you need to do is show proof of donation, and then you get to be a part of an awesome block party. I already looked at the weather. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. DJ, I know you're going to be presenting hopefully an award to the team there for this winning a state championship too. Go out and show support, and please donate to the cause. Look at it. There it is.
This is the trophy, the state championship trophy that the Carver Tigers will be presented, of course, on behalf of Sportsvisions. And again, Thrift, when you talk about, this celebration, they deserve all the credit in the world. Coach, Coffee, and we were kidding about this to him. He was very similar to Ryan Day. Obviously, after the Harris County loss early in the season, everybody wanted to pour the baby out with the bathwater. but who knew? Obviously, Coach Coffee and his team do. And boy, I'm glad that they didn't make that move.
Me too, man.
Absolutely. Hey, guys, I appreciate you guys. Richard, why don't you let everybody know how to find it on Spotify and whatever else source that we can.
Absolutely, DJ. Well, as soon as this is over, you can catch a replay of the Sports Visions morning show on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Those are the 2 podcast platforms. It will be, obviously, this is commercial free, but I think it's a great tool, especially when you're driving on the road. If you're like one of those truckers that's trying to attempt to go out there in the snow, you can just listen to the Sports Visions morning show on your device, and it will be commercial free, and you could listen to it without any interruption, because I know that trying to listen to you guys when I was working up in LaGrange, trying to listen to you guys in the afternoons on Facebook. I would get delays. I would get interruptions. A lot of listeners are outside of the listening area of 92.1. So this is just a perfect tool to listen to the Sports Visions morning show. And we'll have all the episodes like Thrift, like you mentioned. You went into that Apple podcast and saw all 5 episodes in there. And I also put whenever the guests are available and their timestamp. So if you just want to hear Steve Holman's interview, you can actually go to the 1 hour, 20 minute and 27 mark and click on that. And you could just hear the Steve Holman interview. Excellent. And so it's a great tool. I'm looking forward to you guys being back in the studio tomorrow. I can't wait, but this has been a lot of fun, Thrift DJ. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of the Sports Visions family. And we just continue grinding, even though the weather kind of keeps us from the studio. We're out here grinding and giving you the show, and hope that everybody is able to download and subscribe to the Apple Podcast and Spotify, the Sports Visions Morning Show. And also, leave a 5-star review. Those reviews really help with the algorithm as well. So thank you, everybody, for your support and downloading those shows on the podcast.
Thrift, any closing words?
Yeah, thank y'all again for tuning in. Stay safe. Don't be one of those people that get out and be silly this morning. Let the ice melt around lunchtime is when they're saying, and then go out, be safe, and we'll be back in studio. Sports Visions radio app, Sports Visions 92.1 FM, also the Sports Visions Facebook page. Make sure to like and subscribe. Look forward to being back in studio tomorrow, DJ. It's been a wacky week with MLK Day and inauguration, national championship. Can't wait to be back in studio to talk about everything coming up, which should be a fun weekend in sports.
Well, on the radio, as I would say about this time, you hear the music, but we don't hear the music. And you know what that means. That's going to do it for this edition of the Sports Visions Morning Show. On behalf of Richard Holdridge, Thrift Barringer, I'm DJ Jones, reminding you to keep your eye on the ball.